Well, I was working for my parents. They run a marriage ministry called Love and Respect, and I'd been working for them for a couple years, so I figured, hey, I'm probably ready to get married, right? And I was dating someone, and we were headed towards marriage, and then because it was moving so quickly, I prayed that the Lord would hit us with a ton of bricks if it wasn't right, because that was literally the only imagery that I could foresee stopping me from marrying this man that I loved. And so I prayed that every day, actually with a sense of freedom, going, hey God, if you're real, then you will stop this. And I think it takes prayer in combination with letting people into your life, living your relationships in the light, I now say, because I realized that through doing that, which was letting my parents, a few close friends, a counselor into my life, that some things came to light and the relationship ended. And that was a number of years ago, but in the midst of that, I was so completely broken. And if you have gone through a broken relationship, you probably understand how I was feeling. I was skeptical of marriage, I was skeptical of men, I was just not getting out of bed. And I remember in that season, my father, who was very patient with me, both of my parents were, let me have my day or 100 where I was just depressed. And but my dad said something really interesting. He said, you know what, Joy, I'm not gonna force you to serve, but I want to challenge you to be open to serving. And I remember kind of being like, are you kidding me? I need someone to bring me tea and food and take care of me. Like, I'm broken. But when he said that, it stuck in my mind. And fast forward a couple months later, and I was still very broken, not to mention I'd also broken my ankle. So then I really was confined to my bed. And I had this time and space where I actually interacted with God in a way that I never had before. I grew up in a Christian home. I was a pastor's daughter, and I always felt like I loved Jesus. But now this was kind of like, man, I feel so awful. Like, does God really, really care? Does he really, really exist? And I think oftentimes tragedy in life is what causes us to finally pause and get reflective and get insightful and go, God, are you real? And so for me, that was the time where I stopped and I started asking God questions, and there wasn't always answers. Oftentimes there wasn't answers, but I said, okay, Lord, if you are real and serving is going to be the thing that's going to bring me out of this funk and reveal that you're actually real, then do your thing. And it was through that, I can't go into the whole story now, but through that I started to realize that in this place of brokenness, the area of relationships, the Lord actually did have something for me to do. And that was to pass on the wisdom that I had been given from my parents, even though I didn't feel like it worked in my life, to other people in my generation who didn't know. And so now as I've looked back years later and I've seen what the Lord has done in those years, I realize that he does move despite my willingness and despite my actual physical ability to get out of bed. But that prayer that I prayed in both wanting to serve and wanting that relationship to be hit with a ton of bricks, there was a movement. Not instantly, but we have to keep praying those prayers over and over. And I believe that God will move, but we have to keep our eyes open and see it happen.